You know what the thing is with me and building in The Sims? I've never actually been much of a builder myself. I remember back in the day when I was much younger and I discovered The Sims, I actually had my sister draw out buildings and houses that I would actually replicate in the game. And even now to this day, sometimes I have my husband Peter create something because I know that he's much better at making awesome buildings and houses himself. But now that I've started doing these building challenges here on YouTube, I have to say I actually really enjoy the process. Sure, sometimes I really struggle a little with trying to find out where tools are, what tools I can use in certain situations, what types of clutter I can place, and also I'm still learning to use move objects on. But this is my third building challenge that I've made so far, and I have to say I really loved making this one. Now this time I wanted to create a public lot, and I had this idea of trying to create an arcade. However, I didn't really have any arcade-like objects in my game yet, so I decided to purchase the Get Together pack because I saw that there was a big arcade machine and also some other items that I really could use in this build. So without further ado, let's dive right into the game so I can show you how I made this. I wanted to make something in the world of Windenburg because that came with Get Together, and I thought that it was a pretty big community focused world with lots of fun areas that people can actually go to, like a pool, a gym and stuff like that. There's also already several other bars, but I figured, you know, like another cafe would be fitting for this world. Now, there weren't really that many open lots, unfortunately, that I could use, so I just used this one that is more in a residential area, but I thought, like, you know, even people that live here, they might want to have a nice cafe as well. So here I built a general outline of the building. I wanted to have this protruding windows, so that's why I tried building this section on that room, but it didn't want to connect to the room, so I had some trouble with that. So in the end, I didn't go with that design. I did find some windows later on that I could use for that were actually perfect. And then I also decided that I wanted to have a outside seating area. So I made this deck that wrapped around the front of the building. Now, a simple roof on top of that. The roof is going to change a little bit later because the shape of the building is going to change a little bit later as well. But I thought like a nice simple roof would actually do the trick. Like I said before, I'm not really much of a builder, so I did look up some inspiration on Google beforehand to see what kind of shapes I could make, what are some good shapes for buildings like this. And I found some shapes and I found some inspiration that I actually used in this build as well. Now I still am not really sure about like shapes and making shells of buildings, but I think with this one I just gave it a go, and I think in the end it did kind of work out. So yeah, so here I struggled a little bit with the deck area. I wanted to have a simple flat roof on top of that, but I wasn't really sure how to make a flat roof. Now again, I haven't really used a lot of these building tools before, so I did have to Google to see how to add a flat roof and what way I could actually do that. Now I'm not sure if the way that I did it is the best way to do this. Maybe there's like other ways that people can recommend me. If you can, definitely leave them in a comment below the like button, because again, I'm kind of new to building still. I still have a lot of things to learn. But yeah, any tips, any advice, I can always use that. So here I wanted to have a flat open roof. So I wanted to have this sort of zigzag pattern on the top of the roof. Now this is actually one of the many iterations that I had before. I did actually cut out a lot of the building here because things didn't really want to work the way that I wanted them to. So I actually built something, then deleted it, tried something else. I wasn't too happy with it. So I did end up settling on this pattern that I'm not completely satisfied with, but I think it actually looks okay. I wanted to have more of a zigzag pattern, but for some reason you can't really intersect fences, which I didn't know before. So I couldn't really get the pattern that I really wanted to. Also, I already added the door in. I found this really cute door with the "We Are Open" sign on the window, which I thought was actually really cute. So I added that already in so that I wouldn't forget that this door would exist. And then adding the wallpaper here. This is also, I think, a wallpaper that came with Get Together. There weren't really a lot of wallpapers for the outside that I really liked. I wanted to have more of a wooden feel, like a stone feel, but I wasn't sure. I couldn't really find any that I think matched the vibe of a coffee cafe. So the one that I went with in the end, I think matched the best. And then I already added some windows. Now here again, you will see the window idea that I had before with the protruding windows. I will find that in a second. The windows are going to change later on. I'm just going to give you like a bit of a spoiler already, because I will change the shape of the building a little bit later on. And also the height of the building is going to change later on as well. But I wasn't really sure that I wanted to do that until I was actually working on the decoration. Also, some of you might have already seen, while we are looking at the building here in the background, you might have already seen that my hairstyle is different. I went to the barber shop today, actually, to get my hair cut. I used to have this longer hair that I've had for quite a while now already. And while I still liked the look, I wasn't really happy with the way that it was anymore with like windy situations, or like when it actually grow even longer. The sides wouldn't really look good anymore. And I don't know, I just really didn't like the way that it looked. So I went to the barber today and I was like, hey, this is my hair type. I kind of have this thinning hair. It's not really very thick and lush. Do you have any advice? Like, you know, can you maybe make something like this? And I showed her some pictures and she said like, yeah, we can do that. But keep in mind, it is going to look different on your hair, obviously. So yeah, in the end, she did this. The front is a little bit too short. I wasn't really preparing on making it that short, but in the end, I'm actually very happy with the results. Now here you'll already see me placing some items in the cafe. The coffee counter I already placed because I knew that I wanted to have that over there. And then I placed another room here because I figured out that I needed to have a toilet as well, like a bathroom area. And I think in the shape, the current size of the building, it wasn't really going to work if I also wanted to add arcade machines and other things that people could play with. Now, speaking of new things, next week, I'm actually starting a course that is going to be for IT support. That is something that kind of came onto my path. I wasn't really prepared or wasn't really looking for something like that. But yeah, I'm very excited for that. It is going to be a big change, because I haven't been doing something like that in a long time. Also, having to go back to school is going to be a massive change for me. So yeah, while I'm very excited, I'm also slightly nervous. Also at the prospect of having to like learn things again and having to like study and having to do an exam at the end of the course. But yeah, hopefully it's going to be like the start of something new, like a new chapter in my life. So I also thought like new hair, new chapter. Yeah, I thought it would be like a fitting thing to do. And with these bathrooms, I actually struggled quite a bit. I wanted to have these stalls that I found in the game. I wanted to have those in the bathrooms, but I couldn't really fit them in properly. You will actually see me struggle in a second here, where I kind of removed the stalls that I made now, like the rooms that I made now. I kind of removed them again because I really wanted to have these stalls in there. So I tried adding them with move objects. And while they did fit in, they didn't really fit into the shape of the room. And I tried making the room smaller. I tried like, you know, making these stalls, lining them out differently, but somehow I just didn't really like the way that it looked with the little gap on the side. So when I realized this, I was like, okay, you know what? Let's just go back to the way that it was. Let's just make these small rooms back again. And we'll just have to deal with, you know, that is not going to be perfect, but it is going to be fine. Now, I was struggling with what to put in these rooms because I didn't want to put too much in there. I wanted to have the sinks outside of the rooms instead of like in the rooms. So I did add the sinks here to the main area of the bathroom. But then I did feel that the rooms where the toilets were in were kind of empty. But in the end, I don't necessarily think that's like a big deal. I did add some decoration there to make it look slightly less empty, but you know, people don't really need that much in there anyway. Building something like this completely from scratch, that's actually really new to me. I'm not sure if I've ever really done that in The Sims. I do remember, like I said before, when I was younger, like, you know, much younger, when I was like, this was like the time of The Sims 1 and The Sims 2 even. I remember my sister always drawing out these layouts for buildings, and she would ask me like, okay, what kind of people are going to live there? Funnily enough, I usually had a family of 2 men. This was actually before me realizing that I'm gay myself, and I just like, you know, always made families with 2 men. So that in hindsight, that kind of probably was already a bit of a signal, but you know, that's always hindsight is 2020. But yeah, she always made like these layouts for me that I would then recreate in the game itself. I always like that, you know, I did enjoy the building, but I didn't necessarily enjoy the thinking of what the building would look like. And I also always struggled with that. Like when making houses, I always struggled with layouts and those kind of things. It is funny though, because back in the day of The Sims 1, I did always have like these default things that I added into my houses, like the party stuff from Hot Date and The Sims 1 Nightlife. I'm not sure what it was called, like the party expansion from The Sims 1. I always added like, you know, the DJ booth and the dancing cages and the dancing floors. I always added those to my house because, you know, I don't know why. because who has those kind of things in a regular house? But I did always kind of like them. I thought they were kind of cool. Also, the diving tank from Superstar, I added that as well because I thought that was like a super cool item. All right, well, back to the decorating. I think I mostly did most of the important things in the building. I added the cafe, I added the counters behind that, and here I struggled with finding some good tables that would fit with the vibe and the theme of the cafe. So I ended up going with these circular ones. And then also I had the same issue with the chairs. I wasn't sure what type of chairs I would use in this cafe. I didn't want to have like too fancy ones, but also not like too simple ones. In the end, I did go with these relatively simple wooden chairs that I do feel like, you know, fit the warmth and style of the cafe a little bit. I make a general placement of where I want these tables to go. I will change it a little bit later though, because I wasn't really happy with the way that these were laid out. Also with adding some of these arcade machines, I wasn't really sure like where I would place most of them. This is also where I realized that I would probably have to make the room or the building itself a little bit bigger if I wanted to add things like a foosball table and a dartboard and the Whack-A-Llama game as well. So here I tried struggling like, okay, what things can I add? I wasn't sure what type of items were all going to be added with Get Together that I purchased specifically for this build. So yeah, so here I make the room a little bit bigger. And later also in a second, you will probably also see me making the walls slightly higher because this arcade machine was just ginormous and it just didn't fit within the room properly. So yeah, I had to make everything higher, the windows, the speakers already. But in the end, I think it actually came out kind of nice. So yeah, so I'm placing some things down here, but things will change in a second. I actually asked some advice from Peter, my husband, and I was like, okay, look at this. I'm not really happy with the way that things look. What do you think I can improve on? And he actually gave me some tips and some pointers on improving things that I was actually happy with. And indeed, I didn't think of changing some of these things. So I was actually happy to get his advice a little bit. All right, so here you can see that I changed the layout of things slightly. I changed the layout of the tables there. The foosball table is now in the back here, and I just went with one darts board instead of two. I was actually much happier with this layout because especially the seating area, I think, looked a lot nicer and a lot more dynamic rather than just having this entire seating layout be exactly the same. Now, I did want to go with the rug because I felt the floor was a bit empty, but then it kind of felt very random. And I also thought that maybe in a cafe like this, it wouldn't make sense that there would be a rug where people would be sitting. So yeah, I wanted to add also some decorations on the table. I wanted to go with some candles, some small candles, but I couldn't really find any candles that were small enough that would go on the tables. I'm not sure if they exist. Maybe they do, but I couldn't really find any that I thought would work. So in the end, I went with a small planter and I just made it a little bit smaller to make it slightly fit on the tables a little bit better. I didn't add it on the back tables though, because I didn't want to have a similar, like I didn't want to have the designs to be completely the same. Then I added these super cute succulents that I found. I added them in the windowsill. They didn't fit perfectly. They were kind of floating as I just checked just now, but it wasn't too bad. And I think nobody will actually notice. Then I thought this coat rack would look really nice in this corner there. And I was also looking at some other decor items that I could add. I found this really cool plaque. I wanted to add some old-timey, like, you know, photos and posters and stuff like that, but I couldn't really find any. So I found this old photo that I thought would actually look really cool here. I thought maybe those were like the original founders of the cafe, or like, you know, maybe some old-timey people that used to live in this area. I don't know. Like, I'm not really sure what the story would be, but I did think it would fit here on the wall pretty well. And then I was actually working on some more decoration. Like I wanted to add some more random things here and there, some clutter. Also, like I said before, the table that's going to go in the center, I was going to add those as well. And I actually think this is my favorite part of the building process. Like actually working with clutter and like decorating things and adding some random knickknacks here and there. Also, I really like these lamps. I saw them in a build that I did before when I was working on some houses. I saw these lamps and I don't think they really fit in the build that I was working on at the time, but I thought they were actually really cool in this cafe. Then I went to work on the outside area. I wanted to go with 3 tables that people would be able to sit on. So even though they're not completely symmetrical and completely lined up, I think they do look kind of nice. And I also decided that I wanted to have some plants on the outside. Now I couldn't really find any plants that fit in the section or in the area next to the little stairs that we have. But in the end, I did find these square planters that I did kind of like. So we're going to go with those. Actually, they're not square, I just now noticed. They're more like circular. They kind of remind me of sort of like a top hat. And I wasn't sure. They were positioned like with the front towards us, but I kind of liked it better with the thing that goes around it, moving that to the front. Also, I wanted to add some lights here to make sure that when people sit here in the evening, they still have some lights and they can see, you know, what they're drinking. And again, I wanted to add some candles or something on the tables here, but I couldn't really find anything that I thought would match with the tables, unfortunately. So we're just going to leave the tables on the outside empty. And then I saw this big empty section here that I thought, what can we do with that? And then instantly it clicked. I wanted to have a like a little pond that we would add there. So again, this is a tool that I never really have used in The Sims 4 before. So I flooded everything initially, but then I figured out how to do this. And then I add some nice lush greenery on the outside. I actually had a lot of fun doing this, adding, you know, some things here and there, adding some green stuff and some rocks there. I really enjoyed that, like, you know, making things look more natural. And then also I discovered that you can change the color and the vibe of the water. So I actually changed the water as well. And to make it fit with a little bit more like this theme. I didn't think that super clear water would be fitting. And then we have a fountain here as well that I hid within the bushes. I haven't actually seen it in action yet, but I hope that it looks pretty cool. And then just some more random things in the pond. Nothing too special. I didn't want to like go overboard, but I did feel that, you know, it would look good. And then I checked it in the nighttime as well to see if it actually does look good. Then I just add some random paint on the ground on the outside because I thought that the grass was a bit too green and I didn't necessarily like that, so I wanted to add a little bit of paint there, but also kind of trying to make it look natural. And again, here I went with the candles. The flames didn't shrink down when you shrunk down the object, so that looked weird, so I didn't end up going with those. And then I wanted to have some more things on the outside, some more clutter. I wasn't sure what to put there though, because most of this stuff I never really have seen before. You don't really use this in a, like, you know, a regular house. But I did find this wheelbarrow that I thought would look kind of nice there. And then just some random paintings, making the floor look a little bit more natural instead of this nice green grass. I found this wind chime that I actually really liked, so I added that. And then I realized that I would also have to add some lighting to this arcade area. Because especially above the dartboard, there's not really that much lighting. And I want to go with some paintings here on this empty wall. I saw these really cool paintings of, like, you know, these old-timey paintings of like a man and a woman that I thought would really go with the vibe of this cafe. Like I said, it's not going to be too fancy, but they might have these old-style, old-timey photos or paintings. They might have those hanging. And then lastly here, we add some lights above the dartboard so that that corner is also lit up. Some more decoration on this wall. And I think we're actually getting close to the end of the build here. I was actually kind of satisfied with how things turned out. I was not sure if I wanted to maybe add some things on the floor because I felt maybe the floor in the back there was a little bit empty. But in the end, I think it's not going to be that bad. Also, especially looking at some of the default builds that are in the game, I don't think that, you know, there's always a lot of clutter there either. So yeah, so we're almost getting ready for the reveal. We're going to do a walkthrough of the building and I can show you like everything that I've done. But yeah, this is basically everything that I've done and I'm actually kind of proud and happy with it. All right, so this is the exterior of the building. We can see everything here. The nice pond that we made, the outside seating area that we have. But let's actually look at the interior of the building itself. So it's not a huge cafe, but I think it's big enough. There's enough seating for everyone to be able to sit down, have a cup of coffee, and then of course we have an arcade area as well. So here you come in, you see the nice bar area that we have set up here. Lots more seating area that people can sit in. Over here we got the nice succulents in the windowsill there, and then when we turn around to this corner we have the game and arcade area. So we got the llama game, we got the foosball table, the darts board, and of course the giant arcade is there as well. And then we have the bathrooms here with the stalls. Nothing too special, nothing too fancy, just a simple bathroom, but I think it does work well. And like I said, I actually had a great time building this arcade/coffee place. It was definitely a challenge at times because I wasn't sure where to find certain tools and I wasn't sure how to use some of them, but I think while doing it I actually did learn some new tricks. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is still a new style of video for me, and actually doing these speed builds and talking over them is actually something new, but I think the more that I'm gonna do it, the better I become. So hopefully you didn't mind me chatting about random things too much. Now, thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already seen my previous build challenges, I will leave a link in the card right over there in the corner, so you can watch the previous ones as well. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I will catch you in one of my next videos, or maybe in one of my live streams that I do here on YouTube. But for now, happy simming, happy building, and don't forget to play with life.